China's online movie industry is among the most successful in the world. China's 3 top online movie theaters release more than a whopping 500 feature films per year. Although most of these movies are made on a shoestring budget, local cinematographers have learned to make the most out of every yen. The Chinese online cinema has given birth to a plethora of top-notch directors whose creative thinking can't be stopped by limited resources. The Chinese online cinema of the early 2020s covers a big variety of spectacular and entertaining films with a comfortable runtime of around 80 minutes. If you need an expert guide through the mesmerizing universe of the Chinese cinema, you're in the right place. We've selected 10 best online projects that released in China in the past couple of years. Let's get one thing straight though, we're not claiming that the movies on this list are the best China has ever made. Our goal was to make a versatile list that would cover films across different genres and styles, so that everyone could pick a movie to their liking. Now that we've made this disclaimer, we're all set to get started, so make yourselves comfortable and let the fun begin. Number 10. Tongshan Passed Without Darkness Under the Lamp, 2022. Have you ever heard of Easterns? It's a very interesting film genre that Western audiences are not familiar with. Easterns are adventure action movies that imitate Westerns while taking place in China. Over the years, Easterns have undergone a visible transformation from classic Hollywood patterns to the typical Chinese blend of action, comedy, and patriotic drama. One of the best-known Easterns is Let the Bullets Fly by Jiang Wang. Without Darkness Under the Lamp is an Eastern that is somewhat difficult to sum up. It's a simple and good-humored action film that takes place in the border town of Tongshan. Several conflicting gangs have to forget their disagreements and come together in the face of a bigger trouble. Now, having a fat budget at their disposal, the creators of Tongshan Pass came up with a drastic and yet elegant solution. They decided to make a film with practically no action scenes, yet they did it in such a subtle way that you only realize that when the movie is nearing its end. Don't get me wrong, Tongshan Pass is packed with action, but as soon as it comes to bullets and daggers, the film cuts to another plotline. The abandoned action scene either resurfaces in the end, or is dropped completely with a voiceover listing those wounded and killed. Quite surprisingly, you don't perceive it as something the filmmakers had to do because they lacked money. On the contrary, it looks like a conscious, creative solution that complements the film to an extent. The thing is that Tongshan Pass is not about shooting and fighting. The film's message says that there is no such thing as bad people. Instead, there are people who didn't get enough love, understanding, or upbringing. We see mountain gangsters become good guys and turn out to have more justice and integrity in them than lawmen. Despite being rude, harsh, and violent, they're intrinsically good. The cinematographers dedicate lots of screen time to get over the message that basically says they just wanted to be loved. Despite a few flaws, the filmmakers did a great job with Tongshan Pass. You grow to empathize with the characters and their problems. The sincerity and wisdom in their words speak to your heart. As the film is approaching its finale, you can't help but feel a treacherous knot in your throat. All this despite the film's overall comical tone and absurd humor. Number 9. Invisible Alien, 2021. The sci-fi genre has been booming in China in recent years. Unfortunately though, it's still struggling to take root in the Chinese cinema. That's why each sci-fi movie release is kind of a big deal that draws everyone's attention. Invisible Alien had a very promising trailer, but as it's often the case with Chinese online projects, the actual movie turned out to be quite different from what one expected. The trailer promised us a fast-pacing and hair-raising sci-fi thriller like Alien, Heat, or Life, but in reality, the movie has more in common with Alex Garland's Annihilation and Tarkovsky's Solaris. It's an existential sci-fi drama that reached the runtime of a feature film only thanks to a senseless action scene in the middle of the movie. Invisible Alien takes place in the year 2047. After receiving a signal from a cosmic body nicknamed the Messenger, Earth sends out a spaceship whose mission is find potential signs of life on Messenger. The crew successfully reaches their destination. They fail to find any life form but come across an odd-looking branchy crystal. Decades later, the spaceship comes back to Earth. Out of the entire crew, only one woman is still alive, but she can hardly remember anything. What is life in a global sense? This is the question asked by the filmmakers through the well-known Theseus ship paradox. It goes like this: if each piece of wood in a ship has been replaced, is this still the same ship, or is it an absolutely different ship? Venturing even further, the movie creators speculate whether the humankind can be viewed as a single organism that is being continuously renewed through people's deaths and birth. This is an intriguing and thought-provoking question, but the filmmakers fail to give an equally deep answer to it. Instead, they're distracting the viewer with expensive, long scenes, breathtaking visuals, non-linear narration, and pretentious division of the film into chapters. Simply put, they're using whatever to avoid answering the main question. At the same time, I'd say that asking a challenging question is already 50% of success. Visuals are yet another strength of Invisible Alien. Although the movie only runs 1 hour and it features 3 actors across 5 or 6 different settings, everything looks edgy and stylish. As for CGI-created spacescapes, they're simply breathtaking. Number 8. The Sniper, 2021. There's hardly another movie title that Chinese cinematographers love as much as Sniper. In 2020 and 2021 alone, the industry released a staggering 5 feature films and 1 TV series under this name. On top of that, there's Zhang Yimou snipers that made waves in 2022. So good luck to those who will be searching for the Sniper without knowing its Chinese title. Although, I must say the search is definitely worth it. The Sniper is an action film that I strongly recommend to check out even though it's an online release. The movie follows the sniper by the name of Jing Ming. Once while on the mission, he saves a captured child, thus sabotaging the operation. Jing Ming takes the kid under his wing and gives him the name of Jing Tai. 10 years have passed and the boy has grown up to become a sniper. So has Xiao Mei, another child that Jing Ming saved and brought up. During one of the missions, Jing Ming falls under suspicion. The incident opens up an abyss between his adopted children. Xiao Mei doesn't hesitate to take her father's side and joins him to carry out a massacre in the headquarters, while Jing Tai tries to stop them. Don't expect too much from the script. The sniper's writing is average. It's neither too dumb, neither too predictable, which is already a good thing. The intrigue holds for an entire duration of the film, which is an hour and a half. The story is densely packed with action scenes without excessively long scenes or plot holes. Action is the film's main attraction. The Sniper serves action in all forms and sizes, including gunfighting, hand fighting, and stunt fighting. The filmmakers went to great lengths to make action scenes as brutal and visually disturbing as possible. Here and there, a lack of budget manifests through CGI'd blood and clearly visible green screens, but to make up for these visual flaws are jaw-dropping stunts and smooth hand fights. If you're one of many people who feel skeptical about Chinese online projects, you have all chances to change your mind after watching The Sniper. Of course, it's not Dante Lam, Johnny To, or John Woo, but on the second thought, John Woo has reduced himself to filming God knows what, while Johnny To has walked away from the action genre. The only top-notch director left is Dante Lam, but he can't carry the whole industry on his shoulders alone, right? Number 7. The World of the Sea, 2021. Although the Chinese online cinema is quite a young phenomenon, it has already produced a bunch of talented directors, among which is He Jianan. Yes, you heard that right. This next movie on our list was filmed by a female director who is a true professional in her craft. He Jianan has been filming online projects for 5 years now. While simple and corny, her works manage to deliver the maximum level of entertainment under limited budgets and rigorous censorship. Inspired by Waterworld and the Pirates of the Caribbean, The Warlord of the Sea takes place in an alternative world where our planet is almost fully covered with water and each piece of land is a treasure. The silver lining is that this water world is not yet fully explored, and there's always a chance to find a vacant island. Searching for such an island are two sea guardians and a seasoned sea captain of a pirate ship. This unlikely squad is pursued by other bounty hunters who got wind of their quest. When watching this movie, you realize that the director knew exactly what she was doing. The plot is logical and compelling, without any senseless lines leading nowhere. Action scenes are overwhelming to watch, despite a limited budget. Pathos comes hand in hand with humor. Charismatic actors manage to deliver a solid performance. Computer graphics aren't best in class, yet vibrant and credible. The overall aesthetic of this marine steampunk looks fresh and exciting. With all these strengths, the Warlord of the Sea succeeds to make the viewer forget about the passage of time and the remote control. The film has a few secondary storylines that have nothing to do with the main plot. However, unlike in other movies, The Warlord of the Sea, these peripheral missions, so to say, make an organic part of the story. Could the film do without a humorous sea monster that our protagonists meet on their quest? Of course it could, seeing that it adds nothing to the story. On second thought, people complaining about gigantic underwater creatures are unlikely to click a movie like this in the first place. The Warlord of the Sea ends with an ellipsis that hints at a possible sequel. This means that we have a chance to revisit the thrilling water world in a couple of years. Number 6. The Wicked Wife, 2022. If you watch Chinese online movies at least from time to time, you know that its quality has improved significantly in recent years. A smart mixture of horror, detective story, and social drama, The Wicked Wife is rightfully among the most fascinating online releases of the past couple of years. As the movie begins, we find ourselves in a small hut where several random travelers are hiding from bad weather. A blind musician entertains the company with stories about a demon fox that married a man from a nearby village. At night, a group of soldiers transporting a criminal also takes shelter in the hut. After hearing the musician's story, the criminal says this was not exactly how it all happened. How does he know that? Well, he claims to have been a part of that story many years ago. The Wicked Wife gives off the vibes of Rashomon, Tarantino's Hateful Eight, and the Taiwan movie Dragon Inn. Night and torrential rain have brought complete strangers under the same roof, and one of them tells a story about a village simpleton that had the wits to marry a demon fox. The narrator is interrupted by someone who claims that his story is not entirely true. Then there comes someone else who further corrects the story. As the film is nearing its end, we arrive at an elegant plot twist that brings all loose ends together. We hear a clever yet sad reflection on the origins of folklore and mythology. Chinese cinematographers tend to keep clear of horror films. Instead, they add horror elements to fantasy films, thrillers, and period action movies. The Wicked Wife is different in this sense. It bravely celebrates the horror genre. The mood of the story changes depending on the narrator. It goes from a classic scary fairy tale about a dark forest to an adventure fantasy story about Tomb Raiders to a horror fantasy drama about Daoshi fighting cannibal demons. Here's a curious fact: the Chinese cinema usually depicts foxes as adorable animals, white and fluffy. This is not the case here though. The Wicked Wife does not romanticize demon foxes. On the contrary, they're portrayed as ghastly creatures that bring death. The movie works great mostly thanks to the harmonious combination of its elements. It's a dark, eerie, and even misanthropic film that happens to have it all, including a compelling plot, immersive atmosphere, and deep meaning. Number 5. Mojin, The Tom of Ghost, 2021. The hardcore fans of the Chinese online cinema must know that Mojin's cycle is a bit of a mess. Thing is that the author of novels, on which most Mojin movies are based on, sold film rights for his works to several studios. As a result, the films are being adapted to screen by different creative teams, and audiences are having a hard time figuring out the right order of Mojin installments. For example, in 7 years since the release of the very first Mojin installment, the protagonist Hu Bei has been played by more than 15 different actors. In The Tom of Ghost, Hu Baiyi and his pal Wang Kai-son find themselves in a small village where a local girl is losing her mind. The villagers are convinced that this is because she angered the gods. However, Hu Baiyi is immune to such superstitions. A local hunter says that his daughter used to have the same ailment, but she recovered after eating mushrooms from an old cavern. The protagonist heads to the mysterious location. Inside, they discover a huge mansion that serves as a starting point for their blood-chilling adventure filled with deadly dangers. The Tom of Ghosts is reminiscent of the director Chang Ju Li's another work, The Kitty Tom. In both films, the protagonists are bombarded by endless sequences of dangerous situations. At some point, the character realizes they're falling in and out of illusion, which gives you the vibes of A Nightmare on Elm Street or Christopher Nolan's Inception. Together with the protagonist, the viewer is trying to draw the line between reality and hallucinations. This allows the filmmakers to play a few clever tricks on the audience by deceiving their expectations. New plot twists are popping up all the way to the end credits. Like The Kitty Tom, The Tom of Ghosts is rather a horror than an adventure action film. Although sparing the viewer explicitly disturbing horrors, the movie manages to create a juicy suspense that makes your stomach turn. It's not surprising, after all, that The Tom of Ghosts became one of the most popular online releases of 2021. Number 4. Destruction of Opium at Human, 2021. Each movie genre has its criteria and benchmarks. When it comes to Kung Fu genre, new releases within this niche are juxtaposed with the golden era of the Hong Kong cinema. Destruction of Opium at Human is one of the few Kung Fu action films that actually bears comparison with the timeless Hong Kong classics. The movie is set in 1839. Trade between China and Great Britain is flourishing. However, along with useful goods and inventions, British are also importing opium to the country. The local authorities find themselves in a tricky situation. On one hand, ruining the relations with a powerful Western partner is the last thing they want. On the other hand, they can't keep ignoring the opium-infused chaos unfolding around them. The first one to step forward against the distribution of overseas poison is a scrupulous official Li Zhansu. He's joined by a master of martial arts by the name of Hua Jinlang. A spectacular fight that takes place in the first minute of the movie makes it clear that the filmmakers are determined to bring on their A-game. It's a fast, reckless, and visually compelling scene set against gripping music. Besides, it demonstrates the cinematographer's balanced sense of proportion. Whenever safety ropes are involved, they're used only to an extent that is necessary to spice up and accentuate the action without making it look unrealistic. Quite surprisingly, the movie continues to keep the bar high all throughout its runtime. The investigation develops into an engaging intrigue. The protagonists reveal their personal traits and backgrounds, which makes them more interesting to watch. As for Shi Mao, this is probably his best role to date. Consider this, he started to act in the 1990s alongside Jet Li when he was just a kid. His character of Hua Jinlang is super cool without looking ridiculous or pretentious. He's not just another fearless superhero with a poker face. On the contrary, the actor makes his character look like a relatable human being, filling him with bouncing energy and vivacity. If you try really hard to find flaws with this film, you may say that it's promised a more impressive final series of fights. But these are champagne problems, so to say. Destruction of Opium at Human has set an important precedent that proves that the Kung Fu genre is still alive and has all chances to rise from ashes like a phoenix, providing that filmmakers learn how to work with this genre. Number 3. Blind Sword, 2022. Here comes another period Kung Fu film starring Shi Miao. Cheng Shangzi is a blind master of martial arts that makes his living by catching fugitive criminals. During one of his quests, he witnesses a massacre. A rich heir named Yu Wang butchers an entire family of winemakers. A girl named Ni Yang is raped by killer but manages to survive. Shazi helps Niang to get to the city of Luoyang, where she hopes to bring the villains to justice. This isn't an easy task to do though. For an online project, Blind Sword has very high ratings on Chinese movie sites, setting a curious precedent actually. Judging by the trailers, Blind Sword was supposed to be a stylized art house period action drama like Wong Kar-wai Ashes of Time or Zhang Yimou's Shadow. But in reality, the movie turned out to have a pretty straightforward plot, devoid of sophisticated twists or pseudo-intellectual ideas. At the same time, compared to your average online action movie, Blind Sword is slightly more brutal and way more serious and focused. This adventure Eastern feels like a classic Clint Eastwood Western that has been edited down to the minimal possible runtime. By the way, in recent years, the Chinese online cinema has made a big progress in editing. Despite only running for 80 minutes, the movie looks well structured and finished. It seems to have it all, including well-rounded characters, exciting plot twists, smart storytelling in the form of non-linear narrative, and of course, good action scenes. Speaking of action, Blind Sword has usually ruthless fight scenes for an online project. Shang Shi breaks his enemies' arms and legs, and even cuts off their heads. Good characters get their fair share of beating too. This approach adds tension and dramatic effect to the fights even though they lack camera work or editing tricks. Not only the action scenes, but the whole story is dripping with dramatic tension. Probably because the director Yang Bingjia is originally a scriptwriter. Anyway, this works to the film's advantage, making it one of the most fascinating online projects of its time. Number 2. The Song of the Assassins, 2022. Summarizing this movie is not gonna be easy, so bear with me. Yi Zhongyuan is part of the assassin clan, one of the best in his craft. He has a troubled past. The thing is, his entire family was killed because of a mysterious card, and the person who did that hasn't been found. Now the accursed card resurfaces once again. Lord Chai Sheng finds out that the card is in the possession of one of the vassals, Gu Ziying. The latter, however, doesn't have the slightest intention to part with it. One of Chai Sheng's generals, Zhao Jing, volunteers to retrieve the valuable card. But the trick is that his teacher, Chai Kang, wants it for himself. To get the precious object, Chai Kang turns to the head of the assassin clan, known as Golden Mask. If you're already losing the thread of the story, I'm sorry to tell you that it's just the beginning. The movie is densely packed with characters, unexpected discoveries, and abrupt plot twists that continue to pop up even after the defeat of the arch villain. The movie owes its success in part to the original novel by Yuan Taiji. Plus, kudos to the scriptwriter and director Daniel Lee, who's managed to bring the book to the screen in a most professional way. But first things first. A big part of The Song of the Assassin was filmed in 2016. If you consider yourself a cinephile, you must know that it's a very bad sign. If a film is good, why postpone its release? But in this particular case, things are more complicated than that. The official version says that Daniel Lee failed to finish the movie by deadline and was contractually obligated to undertake another project. Then the COVID pandemic broke out, putting the song's post-production on hold. That was not the only problem though. Before the additional photography, the actress Summer Shu Qing did a plastic surgery that made her look quite unlike herself. While The Song of the Assassin was on hold, its creators realized that the film market had undergone a drastic change. A number of big-budget fantasy action films had flopped in cinemas. Instead, the action genre had gained a strong foothold in the online space. As a result, the $30 million film debuted online. And what does an online release mean for a Chinese film today? It means creative freedom. Of course, this freedom is not absolute, but it still gives more space for maneuver than movies with theatrical runs can imagine. Daniel Lee has always been a visionary director, with his works walking a thin line between historical action dramas and fantasy tales. In The Song of the Assassin, he decided to let himself go and highlight that thin line through adding steampunk elements and an eclectic electronic soundtrack that fits the movie like a glove. Number 1. The Hidden Fox, 2022. A gang of villains working for Tango Nong is trying to find a treasure hidden somewhere in a frozen valley. The road to the bounty lies through an iron box safeguarded by a master of martial arts, Hu Yi Dao. Because Hu Yi Dao is almost impossible to defeat in a fair fight, the villains pit him off with another master, Miao Rangfeng. The two deceived masters kill each other, but the box disappears. Years have passed, and the villains have now managed to get a treasure map and a key to open the box. However, the squad is torn by rivalry. Besides, there's a young pupil of one of the villains named Gu Yu that seems to have a hidden agenda of his own. Folks Fallen of the Snowy Mountain by Louis Cha is among China's most beloved wuxia novels. The story has been adapted to screen multiple times, mostly as TV series. The best-known TV series aired on the Hong Kong channel TVB in 1985 and in 1999. In 2006, another Hong Kong channel, ATV, released its own version. There's also a Taiwan production that dates back to 1991. Although the novel is one of the shortest in Louis Cha's bibliography, fitting all its events into a feature film is a challenging thing to do. That's why this time the filmmakers decided to take a different approach. They simplified the story by focusing on the treasure hunt that remains unaddressed in the book. I'll take a guess and say that when working on this film, cinematographers were drawing inspiration from Yojimbo by Akira Kurosawa, and its American version, A Fistful of Dollars. The movie follows 5 masters of martial arts and their pupils. The curious thing is that all of them are wary and suspicious of one another. But why such latent animosity? Well, for one thing, the one who finds the treasure will get a promotion. Also, each warrior has a deadly secret technique that others don't know about. This technique can change the outcome of any fight. But the most cunning guy in this motley crew is Gu Yu. He pretends to serve others while never stopping to pursue his own goals. What we have here is a very powerful plot. The story takes quite some time to get off the ground as we are acquainted with central characters and learn the dynamics between them. In its second part, the movie is bursting with exciting plot twists and original action scenes. The action helps push forward the plot and mold the characters. And if you ask me, this is a recipe for a true hit. Although calling The Hidden Fox masterpiece would be far-fetched, it's definitely one of the best films in its genre released both in theaters and online.